Hi everyone, this is Mindy Cvammen. I'm with Ohio Real Title and I'm excited to be here for Coffee Talk today, and I cannot wait to introduce our guest. Dominic Fonte will be with us here shortly. He's with Cutler Real Estate. He is an expert in the business. It was such a joy to meet him. I met him mid-year last year and his team, and just excited to take some time with him today. So I'm going to go ahead now and introduce Dominic. Hey Dominic, how are you?
We're not having coffee talk. We're having cocktail talk. It's a
Yeah,
little early or late for coffee, right?
I know. Actually, the coffee talk thing started years ago for me. I used to actually do coffee talks with realtors where I would sit down and we would all talk about the business. And so now I'm just taking
Right.
it to the screen. But I just love, I loved our time together when we first met and just hearing about you, your story. You've been in this now, I think, over 30 years.
32 years.
32 years.
I'm a young 32.
And you just do a great business. I respect you and your business and your team, and really looking forward to just diving in and getting some wisdom from you and how you can inspire other realtors and business owners out there that are watching this show. Yeah.
Well, here's how it all started for me. I grew up in southwest end of Canton. We didn't have really any money, and I had a strong desire. My desire was really to just try to figure out a way to earn enough money to live a good life, like we all wish to desire, right? But what happened was I jumped into the workforce pretty early on, and I didn't go to the college route. I skipped that whole thing, right? So I went to the retail grocery business when I was in high school. And then shortly thereafter, they got into financial trouble. So I went into the gift shop business. Now,
Okay.
when you're a young high schooler or someone that's in their teenage years, the minimum wage is okay. But as you move further, you got to fight and scratch and dig for a nickel or a dime raise. And when I got a little bit older in my early 20s, I realized that if I didn't come up with a plan, I was going to be pretty frustrated with the rest of my life. And I didn't want to go down that path. I didn't want to be a Walmart greeter. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what happened for me, I was in a dead end job, and I knew without a college degree or some specialized skill. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me good?
Mm-hmm.
Thumbs up? Okay,
Yeah.
thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
So here's what happened for me in a nutshell. So I didn't really want to go back to school. I wanted to just get into a career. And when I was in the retail gift shop and grocery business, I really enjoyed working with people. It's just that I really couldn't make enough money is the bottom line. And so since I had a little bit of experience in real estate, and I bought my first home when I was 21 years old,
Oh, wow.
I always
Good for
had the
you.
desire to own real estate. And I knew that wealthier people over time had real estate in their portfolio. But of course, if you don't make hardly any money, it's hard to envision that as a reality. So what I did is I went, did cram courses to get into real estate. I figured if I would commit to real estate, even though I didn't have a clue what I was doing, this was in the 80s, way before technology. And so I went to school, did the cram courses, took my classes, got through that, took the test, flunked the test. So when I flunked the test, I was like really depressed.
Oh.
And I was thinking, maybe this isn't for me. So I suck it up. I went again, took the test again. I passed it. So that was a good thing.
Good.
And now I'm all excited. I passed my test. So at the same time, I was working at the gift shop, and I had a crappy boss. And, so I was going to dip my toe in it, ease into it slowly, and then gradually switch to full-time in real estate. Well, we had a big run-in. You know how it goes with these bosses sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I left on Friday, didn't give them any notice. So I didn't leave on good terms, obviously. So I left on Friday. And when you're a real estate agent, you have to have a sponsor. So at the time, this was in 1988. So I went to Croxton Realty, small little firm over here in Jackson Township. And I had no experience. There was no internet, no YouTube, no Google, no Facebook, none of the stuff we're doing right now. The only technology that we were going to have was fax machine. So the newest technology in the business back then was a fax machine. So any of the old timers on the call would know that you had to use the booklet and the file card system. So anyhow, so I show up at the office at 8:30 Monday morning, and I quit my job over the weekend, and I was stressed out because I knew there was no way I'm going to go back, right? So it's either like, sink or swim. So I show up at the office. It's 8:30 in the morning, and the ladies in the office, there were 3 secretaries. And they said, Dom, why aren't you at work? You're going to be late. And I said, well, I got great news. And I sat down by them. They're drinking their coffee. It's 8:30 in the morning, not an agent in the office. Because this was before I realized agents sometimes don't come in until 9 or so, right? So I tell them the great news. I quit my job. I'm going to be a full-time realtor. And they looked at me and they said, you what? Like, you idiot. So right then and there, I thought I was going to throw up in a bucket. So I went back to my cubicle and I just sat there trembling, thinking, what the hell did I just do? And is there any way I can get my job back? So I'm sitting in my cubicle for like an hour or so. Then the broker comes in, says, hey, congratulations. I hear the good news. You're going to be so good. You know, you're going to help. You're going to do a fantastic job. She goes, what have you been doing the last hour or two that you've been here? And I said, well, I'm just thinking about what I'm going to do. You know how it is as a realtor. You just sit there and think. Well, we need action. Well, since I didn't really know anything, you know, by this time, she says, well, pull out that phone book in your front desk drawer. So I pulled out the phone book. She goes, open it up to the A's. Well, I opened it up to the A's. She goes, start making calls.
Gosh.
And right then I was just about ready to throw up again. So I said to her, I go, well, what am I supposed to say? Because I don't really know anything. Because this, you know, obviously I just started.
Right.
And she goes, well, just say, hi, my name's Dominic Cvammen. I'm a new real estate agent. Are you thinking of buying or selling real estate? I said, okay, I could do that. So I started making calls. Well, you can only imagine the response I got. It was not very, very enjoyable. So click. Who are you? Why are you calling me? You know.
Right.
So here, after about an hour doing this, some of the agents started coming in, and I started talking softer and softer because it was so embarrassing, and I felt like such an idiot. So this is my first day at the job. So then I go home with the phone book, and I go in my basement. I get on the phone. I start continuing down this path. And within a week or so of doing this, you can only imagine my results were not good. And I really didn't know what to say, and it just wasn't working very well. So then I said, okay, this is not working if I don't figure something out soon. And keep in mind, there's no training at this point.
Right.
We're just like, go have at it, right? So I went to the mini merchant back then, and they had these like plastic bags. So I had these plastic bags that I was just going to go door to door now. So I figure, okay, you know, maybe I'll have better luck going door to door. So I buy these cheap plastic bags. I pile in all this free stuff I could find, and I invested $150 in some house magnets. You know, those refrigerator magnets that are about yay big. So I start door knocking. So I go buy a map, and I'm door knocking 8 hours a day. Now this was in early spring, where it wasn't warm enough, where people weren't in the yard working, raking leaves. So it was easy just plunking the things on the door, you know, and I acted like I was doing something. But after about a month of this, I started having more pain and suffering. And I was realizing, like, this is not the path I want to go on. So just the listeners, believe me, this is not how you want to start. But for me, it got to the point where, you know, as it was warming up in the spring, I started seeing people out in the yard, and people were a little bit more friendly, and I started talking to people, and I started getting a warmer response. But still, you know, you only eat what you kill, right? And I wasn't killing anything, so therefore I wasn't eating. And I knew I had about $3 grand left in the bank, and if I didn't get something going soon, I was going to have a financial disaster. So I remember this last day that I was knocking on doors. I had 3 more doors to do, and it was in Lake Cable area. And my goal was to touch every house that was on the lake. So I show up to this house. It was a ranch house, but instead of being horizontal on the lot, it was turned this way, and it touched the water. So I remember I was looking at the house, and I'm thinking, man, it's not a very nice house, but, you know, I'm hitting all the doors. So it was about 4:45. I had 3 houses, this one plus 2 more to do, and then I was going to go home. And I remember looking at the house, trying to think, okay, I'm kind of worn out. My shoes are worn out. I'm tired. I'm hot. You know, I just hated it. And I thought to myself, what am I going to say nice about this house? So I saw some pretty rose bushes. So I thought, well, they must like roses, so I'll talk about the rose bushes. So I go up to the door, knock on the door, and I hear a lady. They had like a cross buck door. The screen, you know, it was, I could smell food. I'm hungry. I'm thinking, man, I just want this to be over with. And so anyhow, so he comes out to the front porch. It was a small stoop, so I stepped back on the stoop. It was a real hot day. I had my suit jacket on, my tie, my bag of goodies, and my magnet. And he goes, could I help you? And I said, sir, I said, my name's Dominic Cvammen. I'm a new real estate agent going door to door to meet all the neighbors. And I got some valuable information for you. And I also have a magnet. And I was wondering if you have a real estate question or you know someone that does, would you be kind enough to put this on your refrigerator and keep me in mind? So he says, Dominic Fonte's looking at the magnet, and I thought he was going to say, oh, did I go to school with your dad, or I've seen you around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
He goes like this, Dominic Fonte, get lost. Flung it out in the yard. So you can imagine after all day of doing this how I felt. So could I finish the other 2 houses that day? Hell no. Went home, was kind of really depressed. Wife comes home from work. She goes, you hungry? Gonna get some pizza? And I said, no, I'm not very hungry. And I didn't tell her because every day she'd come home, she goes, sell anything? Sell any homes? And if you're a real estate agent, that's like sticking a needle in your eye. It just doesn't happen quite like that. So anyhow, so I go to bed, wake up the next day, I could barely get out of bed. And this is where it started changing for me. So I get out of bed and I'm thinking, okay, I'll go back and start again. But I really didn't want to do it. I was just so miserable. So I pick up and I do those 2 houses. Then I go around the corner and I see a mailman emptying a mailbox. And I thought to myself, you know what, mailman, maybe he knows people in the neighborhood. He's probably done the route. So I went up to him and I said, sir, I'm going to ask you a dumb question. I said, I'm a new real estate agent. I kind of want some sympathy because I was like dying. And I said, I know it's an awkward question, but have you been doing this route long? He goes, oh yeah, son, 27 years. And I said, by any chance, I said, I'm dying on the vine here. And I told him what happened. Mm-hmm. And I said, is there any way that you know of anybody in the neighborhood thinking of selling?
Yeah.
He goes, don't say I said this, but 2 doors down, she had a divorce. She's going to be selling. The other one, her husband passed away. And so that's how it started for me. Wow. So I went and knocked on the door and just introduced myself, saying I'm going door to door to meet all the neighbors. And she invited me in for a hot cup of tea. And then I ended up, that's how my whole thing started.
Wow.
So that was the pain and suffering I went through. But so as a new agent, now you can be YouTube certified, you can get training, education, listen to programs like this. So that's basically how it started for me 32 years ago.
Wow, Dominic.
So how was that
for yeah, it's hard at the beginning.
Yeah, so it was difficult, but I mean, I was so miserable in my job that anything had to be better. Well, so to make a long story short, after that pain and suffering, I started learning the hard way of what to say, how to say it. Mm-hmm. And I sold 40 homes my first year.
Oh, congratulations.
So I think I earned $40,000 my first year. So
fantastic.
So that gave me some encouragement, although the price ranges were 35 to 45,000. But it gave me encouragement to say, you know what, I think I'm onto something here. Mm-hmm. And
absolutely.
So it's a matter of how to refine your skills and services and how to provide good information, like the heart of a teacher, so that people would be attracted to you to want to work with you, because there's many of us in all our professions, and how do you pick? Mm-hmm. But through word of mouth or reputation or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's an excellent story.
That deserves some in here. Probably vodka.
You know what though? I'll tell you what. I love hearing those stories, because I do think, especially right now, with what's going on in the world, it is a little bit discouraging for somebody new getting up and running in sales and trying to build a network and build a connection. So I love what you're saying. There are so many resources at our fingertips right now, right, with technology and everything else. I know a lot of brokerages have training that the new ones can just click right online and watch whatever they want whenever they want. And if not, they could probably find something on YouTube.
Right.
So yeah, it's times are different, but
I mean, the thing is, like, it's a depressing story, but it actually formed me into what I do today, which I've been very blessed. I'm doing everything, making adjustments. I'm not cursing the wind. I'm adjusting my sail.
Yes.
Everything that's thrown our way, it helped me with that. But obviously, there's tips now that I learned the hard way, that now you could, as an agent, learn things so much easier. You have all the technology, you have these kinds of things we're doing now. Mm-hmm. When COVID came on, we had to quickly adjust our sales, mm-hmm, to figure out how to survive with the psychological piece of it.
Yes.
And so I mean, I've been busy, but I always try to stay ahead of it if I can, and always do the best I can to try to make sure people are educated and informed decision makers. So that's basically my philosophy on it.
Yeah, and Dominic, that's really why I wanted to put you on this show. I love I've watched you over the last year, and I love the way that you ebb and flow. You really do touch base with what's currently going out there in terms of your communication, whether it's written or I know you're big with videos. You do a great job. You also inform people of what the market, what's happening in the
Right.
market. All those pieces play into, you're very good at finding out what people want to know and then getting it out there to them, which I think is half the battle. Homeowners,
Right.
they don't know what their house is worth. They don't know who to call. They want someone that's an expert, and I think that's what you're very good at.
Thank you.
So, yeah, what do you think? I mean, what things come into your mind that set you apart from other realtors? What things do you feel have been successful that you've put in place?
Well, I mean, I think for me personally, since I went through the route I went, I feel I have a good pulse of what people want. No matter how successful I become, I still want to be humble. I want to be relatable. You know, there's always the perception and the reality. And unfortunately, our society operates that way. They don't really, they hear a headline, you know, like for real estate, for example, real estate only matters in your backyard. So no matter where you live, where you are as a buyer, seller, agent, that's always a very interesting topic. And so I would say as an agent, the differential, if anything, and everybody can do it, you know, because everybody has their own sphere of influence.
Yes.
Is I think what it is you have to be kind of always think about what people's perceptions are. Make sure that you're giving them the reality. It's just like what's happening right now. You know, I did a video recently on the frustration the buyers are feeling because the agents are feeling it, the buyers are feeling it. You know, if you have a buyer looking to buy a piece of real estate and you happen to be in that range of where everybody wants to be, let's say under 300, like say 150 to 250, that's a brutal price range to be in. So when you're vying for one piece of real estate and you have 5 people interested, you know, and if you're not educated or you're not up to speed on what's happening, then the buyers get angry with you as an agent and they think you're not doing your job when really you're killing yourself to try to get them the house. So part of what the issue is that you got to, with the heart of a teacher, we have to sort of understand our local backyard. So let's say me, it's Stark County. You know, certain suburbs are hotter than others. So you need to understand that and you need to articulate that to your client so that you're having them look correctly at the process. So, you know, let's say you're dealing with an engineer analytic and they're not going to make a quick decision because they have to pray about it, think about it, maybe have Uncle John come and look at it. So if you sleep on it, you're not sleeping in it. So you got to move at lightning speed. Well, who can move at lightning speed when you have a hard enough time making a decision to buy a pair of shoes or a belt? And here you're buying the biggest investment, and most people only buy a home 3 to 4 times in their whole life between age 25, 75. So as we being the education guru or the GPS for our client, I think the critical thing is honestly is to get to know your local market and understand what the supply and demand is. So right now nationally, we only have 3 months of supply. And what that means is it takes 3 months to absorb up the real estate. Well, in a healthy market, when it's a good balance between the buyer and the seller, we would have between say 5 and 6 or 7 months supply. Haven't seen that since the depression we had in 09, you know, 08, 09, 10, 11, and 12. So what's happening now is you have historic low rates at 3%. You have 3 months or less inventory nationally, but I get you, if you look into your backyard, it might be only 2.2 months. So you have a small pocket. Now, throw a curveball into it. You know, you might have a 911. You could have a Gulf War. You could have the 2008 meltdown. You could have COVID. You know, something we haven't experienced in our lifetime since 1918. And so I think, you know, it's easy just to go home and, you know, because like I was telling you, you know, when I got that magnet thrown out in the yard and told me to get lost, I mean, I could have threw the towel in there, but then I would have been on the street, lost my house, my family. So I didn't care how bad it hurt. I just went ahead and pushed through it. And now I'm on the other side of it. See, so it doesn't matter what happens. I can pretty much roll with it because I was abused enough. Right. So I think just in general, you have to be basically a heart of a teacher, educating your prospective buyer or seller of what is happening in their backyard
Yeah.
and preparing them properly how to deal with things. Because if you're an analytic, for example, and you're telling me I got to go and make a full price offer or over full price offer like this evening, I'm going to have anxiety about it. So then you got to prepare for not just the financial thing, but the emotional thing. People don't fall financially in love with a house. They fall in love with a house. So you're mixing your emotions and finances together. And what happens a lot of times that you're moving at lightning speed to secure a home. Then at 2 in the morning, you have what happens? You have an anxiety attack.
Buyer's
Like,
remorse,
what did I
right?
just do?
Right.
And so then you break the wine out and you're guzzling wine thinking, what the hell did I just do? So I think you just have to, as an agent, understand the process. I broke it into like 15 steps if there's a lender involved. Because you got 7 parties, let's say. You got a listing agent, selling agent, home inspector, appraiser, pest inspection, title, lender. I mean, they're all there operating at their pace, creating anxiety for the customer that hasn't done this ever. So I think the magic is for an agent, or how I differentiate, is if it's something that's duplicatable, you try to put a system in place so that the client is anticipating what's going to happen. So for example, I can handle 5 customers, no problem. But what if I have 25 customers? How do I provide them that level of expertise to give them peace of mind, understanding the different quadrants of personalities, right? Like if you're like me, I don't care. Just tell me, give me the bullet points, I'm good. Right. But maybe someone else needs graphs to charts and they want to pray about it, think about it, ask everybody about it, and then maybe consider a decision, then have buyer's remorse. So you're dealing with the whole spectrum of personalities. And I think, honestly, that is the difference. If you learn that skill, all the things you learned in school, all the things you learned in education with your real estate have nothing to do with being a successful agent. What you have to be is the GPS. You have to have the heart of the teacher. Always put their interests first, depending on who you represent. And then at the end of the day, they'll tell all their friends and family how awesome you are. And people will call you like they do me.
That's great.
And like
advice.
it's not always perfect because you're dealing with feelings and emotions. And even though I try to be a robot, I'm not a robot. I have feelings too. And sometimes, the agents, the people in the transaction get angry. I had one recently where I had 17 offers on the property. Well, let me tell you, there were 16 unhappy agents and 16 unhappy couples that did not get that property.
Right.
And they didn't understand why when they offered full price.
Yeah.
So it's a little deeper now than it used to be. So I think that's really the goal of the agent, is to really educate them. So you're setting, it's like a preset. And then once you do this and you understand your backyard, then you can articulate it in their language, not my language. Or we have all these buzzwords we know about, MLS and Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com and all this kind of stuff. You want to do it with the heart of a teacher, and you want to be a little bit more knowledgeable than your competitor. And it's easy to do when you put their interests first. Yeah. So that's basically what I do. So I don't curse to win, I adjust my sale. And even if I've been doing it 32 years, I always try to make adjustments according to what's thrown my way. So I always want to be on the cutting edge. I always want to do my level best and to try to do the best I can so that the customers will be raving fans, and then not raving lunatics, but raving fans, right?
Right.
So that's basically what I try to do. I don't know if I explained it clear enough.
No, Dominic, that's excellent. The only thing I want to add into what you said, there were so many nuggets of wisdom there, but the other part, I'm just thinking of the viewers. If there's anyone watching this, why don't you talk about the areas that you really focus on? You said know your backyard, and there might be a prospective buyer seller out there that's watching this, and you primarily you want.
So in a nutshell, I'm an Eagle Scout, so you think I know my directions with a compass, but I'm directionally challenged, honestly. I don't know why, just probably some defect in there. So the best invention for me was GPS. So I want to be your GPS, but better yet, I need my own GPS, which is getting me from A to B.
Yeah.
So as long as I can find it on GPS, I have a pretty broad marketplace. I usually travel within, I've sold properties an hour away. So usually like 40, 45 minutes is ideal.
Okay.
I do a lot in Stark County. I live in North Canton, and I'm also a city councilman here in North Canton. So I'm pretty dialed into the community here, but I work everywhere, Stark, Summit, as long as I can find it in GPS, I can do it.
I like saying that.
Cleveland, but I'm more comfortable, in my radius of like about 30, 40 minutes. And
Excellent.
And again, the market shifts. Like you have your normal seasonality of buying and selling. Like normally April, May, and June is the strongest cycle, and that got delayed a little bit this year because of COVID.
Yeah.
And June, July, and I imagine August will be really strong. I mean, June and July were neck breaking, as you probably know from the title side of it. Everybody's
Very
overwhelmed
busy.
right now. So it's like, I always say it's like a landscaper. It's going to rain for 4 days, so you got to hurry up and get everything done.
Right.
You got 4 days to kill yourself.
Yeah.
It can't just be ebb and flow, easy go. But the thing that I would say to any of the listeners, agents especially, is that you want to give them consistent service, education based on where the client is, right? And they have different educations, they have different experience levels. Some people bought and sold several times if they're in the military or if they're corporate. But the majority of people 3 to 4 times. So all they know is what their friends told them if they had a bad experience with an agent. Sometimes they don't really see the value of our services that we offer. But I feel very confident that, they're better off having me on their side than them by themselves. And so you have to understand how to explain that to the client, because a lot of times they look at us all as vanilla. What do you charge? What do you charge? You're in MLS, you do this, you do that. So they see us all as the same, and that's not the case.
No.
Like I've done it 2,200 times, so do you think there'd be an advantage? Possibly, right?
Right.
So you want to have your infrastructure in place. So if you have a process, you have a good CRM, customer relationship management, you always want to look at the long view. So even if it doesn't seem like they're ready to do something, categorize the customers A, B, and C.
Right.
A needs your immediate attention. B, this has to happen or that has to happen. And then C, and when you get busy with the A's, the B's and the C's fall off. So you got to have them set up in a system, workflow or a action plan or something. And you want these things in place so that it helps prompt you to remember, so you don't have to try to retain everything on a piece of paper in your head. And that way there you keep the instead of the peaks and valleys, you can stabilize that more. And you have to remember that, we don't manufacture car parts. It's our education, our negotiating skills, and our service. So as an agent, you want to be that person. And there's a lot of good sources now to go get information, like KCM, Keeping Current Matters, is always very good. You have all kinds of good real estate trainers and real estate people. But what you don't want to do is wait too long. And I know a lot of people, when they get into real estate, maybe they're changing careers. They're just thinking to themselves, I'm not sure if I should do an open house or maybe a mailing, or maybe we should, knock on doors. Maybe we should go to church and hand out flyers. So they're thinking, but they're not doing.
Right.
And the sooner you just do something, you'll feel better about it. And then it doesn't make any sense, but the sooner you do that, things start opening up for you. I don't know why. It's kind of like a Murphy's Law, possibly. So that's what I'd recommend. Talk to as many people as you can. Provide information. It's not always about buying or selling real estate. It's providing good information so that when they're ready, they think of you as the top of mind awareness person.
Yes, absolutely.
So that would be my advice, really.
Excellent. Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Yeah, and that last piece that you brought up about the having some sort of CRM, some sort of contact management system, that's a huge piece that a lot of agents unfortunately miss. And I think it's, anyone in sales, it doesn't matter if you're a realtor, if you're like me, a title rep, if you're a lender, if you don't have some sort of system in which you're putting that data into so that you're able to keep track, I think that's a critical piece. And I love that you said that. Thank you for bringing that up.
In my opinion, that is probably the most important thing is your database.
Yes.
That's basically your gold mine. And if you just you work in the coal mine.
Yeah.
It's not a coal mine, it's a gold mine.
Yeah.
So remember, it's not a coal mine, it's a gold mine.
Yes.
Even though it seems like it's so far off, we need money to pay our bills. We need money to pay our colleges, to pay our house payments. I mean, I had 5 kids. My wife stayed home. We didn't have any health care retirement. So I always was under the gun to have to make it, like, crap it out every month. During 08 to 13, I was like so uptight, I'm surprised I'm still here today. But I just kept pushing through and trying to adjust and trying to watch my expenditures and keep track of things. You always want to know your numbers. You want to know what's coming, what's going. You want to make sure you make it work for you.
Excellent.
You want to be the dog, not the tail when it comes to the money. So you want to keep track of everything. Make sure you got your categories. I guess like if it's a Dave Ramsey, he says, keep your envelopes, put it in the envelope. In my opinion, you just have sub accounts, tax account, vacation account, because like in our business, you can make a boatload of money and then you can be broke. So you always want to make sure that you're living the best life you can and setting some money aside and making time for your family, because that's where we get killed, because if we don't answer our phone, we don't make any money. So it's like, how do you tug a war with, oh, I might miss a sale, I might miss a call, and then I got to pay my bills and I need time with my family. Right. So it's like a tug of war all the time. And I think the way to alleviate that is to live within your means as best you can. Make sure you reward yourself, because we work so very hard in this industry.
Yes.
Most people don't realize how hard it is. 87% of all agents fail within 3 to 5 years, and there's for good reason. And I told you some of the reasons when I first started. Right. Nothing was going to kill me because I didn't have a choice. I would have lost everything, and that would hurt more than the suffering I went through.
Yeah.
So, but as a result, I learned it. I know what it's like to be in the trenches.
Yes.
A lot of people see me today and say, well, you sell like 150 homes a year and, you make all this money. I want to be like you. Well, guess what? There was a lot of pain and suffering to get to this point. And there's plenty of business for everybody out there. All you want to do is, just like I said, use your backyard knowledge. You educate your clients.
Yes.
You have the heart of a teacher. You're their go-to person so that they always have top of mind awareness. And then they tell their friends and family, they write a review, and then Google and all the search engines then love all that stuff. They call it search engine optimization. So we could have a whole nother seminar on this, but the main thing I guess I wanted to leave with your listeners is that it for me, without being college educated, I could never imagine how blessed and successful I was able to be. If you put the work in and you're not afraid. Yeah. So the thing I learned in real estate, NEXT. So when someone hurts your feelings, someone throws your magnet in the yard, tells you to get lost. Right. I try not to take it personal, although I'm not a robot, so it does hurt my feelings. But it just helps me to become more resilient. And there's always the next person that will treat you right and be nice to you.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. Wow. It's amazing, really.
Yeah.
I can't believe I've been doing it 32 years. I'm just as excited now as I was 32 years ago. Yeah. But it's a lot better now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate your time, Dominic. It's been
my pleasure.
Full of wisdom and good tips, and just very real. So for those of you that are watching this, and I know a lot of you watch it later on, I just want to encourage you to call Dominic in the event that you need.
Believe me, I understand. Hey, I understand the pain and suffering.
Yeah.
I could write a book. Maybe one day I will.
Yeah.
So you could only imagine the stories that I went through that I could talk about.
Yeah.
So I understand the pain and suffering that a lot of you guys will go through, and ladies. But I would promise you, just about the time you feel like, I just don't think I can keep it up, push through it. Because like what happens about real estate is just our personalities we just want to dip our toe and kind of ease into it. Well, that's what my intentions were too. But luckily for me, I had a bad relationship at work, and I didn't care. I hated it so bad. I jumped in with both feet, had no clue what I was doing. But I did know one thing. I wasn't afraid to work hard, and I wasn't afraid to just keep trying. When I started seeing some results, I knew I was on the right track.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that can happen for you too.
That's
so don't curse the wind, adjust the sail. All right? I hope you guys do well. If you ever need anything, anybody, if you want to talk, shoot me an email at Dominic@DominicFonte.com, which is on the screen. Call me on my cell, 330-418-1535. Or you can Google me on Google, Dominic Fonte, and there's plenty of videos, information. I've been through it all. I'll be more than happy to help you in any way.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you so much.
Yep, be safe.
All right, thanks.
Yep, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.